I used to believe that my father was a monster, not the kind in fairy tales, the real kind.
The kind who wakes up one morning, looks at his 6-year-old daughter, and decides she's not worth staying for. My mother built that belief in me, brick by brick, year by year. She said, he chose another woman, another child, another life, and I hated him for it. But last week, I met his wife, and she didn't look at me like I was a stranger. She looked at me like she'd been waiting for me to come home. You have your father's eyes, she said, but you have your mother's secrets. And that's when I realized I never knew who the villain really was. I grew up in a small town north of Atlanta, just me and my mom, Karen. She worked double shifts as a nurse, sometimes coming home so exhausted she'd fall asleep on the couch with her shoes still on. And every night, before bed, she'd tell me the same story. He left us, sweetheart, she'd whisper, brushing my hair back. When you were 6, he said he was going to buy milk. And he never came back. I remember asking once, when I was 8, if maybe he got lost or hurt. She looked at me with these cold, tired eyes and said, no, Mia. He found exactly what he was looking for. Another family, a newer one. That word stuck. Newer. Like I was an old toy he'd outgrown. She showed me one picture of him once. Just one. A blurry photo of a man in a gray jacket standing in front of a blue car. She kept it in a shoebox under her bed with old tax forms and a broken watch. That's him, she said. That's the man who chose them over us. I didn't ask again. Instead, I built my life around her pain. I became the perfect daughter. Straight A's. No boyfriends. No parties. I thought if I was good enough, quiet enough, maybe he'd sense it. Maybe he'd come back and apologize. But he never did. And my mother, she made sure I never forgot why. Men like your father don't change, she'd say. They just find new people to destroy. I believed her. For 16 years, I believed every single word. The first crack happened the summer I turned 17. I was cleaning out the attic. Mom asked me to find her winter boots, and I found a box I'd never seen before. It was plain brown, tucked behind an old suitcase. No label, just tape. I almost didn't open it, but there was something about the weight of it, like it wanted to be found. Inside were letters, not bills, not junk, letters with stamps, letters that had been mailed but never opened. The return address was a name I didn't recognize, Elena Vasquez, and the postmark? A town called Fairhope, Alabama. I opened one. My hands were shaking. Karen, please. I'm not trying to hurt you. I just want to know if she's okay. If she looks like him. I think about her every day. Please. One photo. One phone call. I'm begging you. My heart stopped. Because her? That had to be me. I opened another. Dated 3 years later. Same handwriting. Same desperate tone. I know you hate me. I know you think I stole him. But I didn't. He came to me broken. He came to me because you pushed him away. I'm not the villain in this story, Karen. And one day, Mia is going to find out the truth. I sat in that hot attic for an hour, reading every single letter. Some were pleading. Some were angry. Some were just sad. But they all had one thing in common. Elena believed she was innocent. And my mother had hidden every single one. I confronted her that night. I held up the letters, and I watched her face change. For 1 second, just one, I saw something I'd never seen before. Not anger. Not sadness. Fear. She's lying, my mom said. Too fast. That woman is a liar, Mia. She stole your father. She's trying to rewrite history to make herself feel better. Then why did you keep the letters? I asked. Silence. If she's nothing, I pressed, why didn't you throw them away? My mother grabbed the letters from my hands and locked them in her bedroom. Because I wanted proof, she said. Proof of what she did. What they did to us. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the letters in my head. He came to me broken. You pushed him away. And the one that haunted me most. One day, Mia is going to find out the truth. What truth? That was the first layer of mystery. And it burrowed under my skin like a splinter I couldn't ignore. I didn't act immediately. For 6 months, I pretended the letters never happened. I went back to being the good daughter. But something had shifted. I started watching my mother differently, noticing things I'd always explained away. Like how she never talked about why my dad left, only that he left. Like how she'd changed her last name after he was gone. Mine too. We weren't his last name anymore. We were hers. Like how she'd flinch whenever someone mentioned Fairhope, Alabama on TV. And then, on my 18th birthday, she gave me a gift that broke something inside me. A necklace. Gold. With a small heart-shaped locket. Your father gave me this the day you were born, she said. Her voice was soft, almost honest. He said it was for you, for when you were old enough. I opened the locket. Inside were 2 tiny pictures. One of me as a baby. One of my mother on her wedding day, smiling, young, with flowers in her hair. No picture of him. I waited until she went to work that night. I took the necklace, the letters, and the old blurry photo of my dad. And I did something I never thought I'd do. I searched his name online. It took 45 minutes. But I found him, David Cole, living in Fairhope, Alabama, married to Elena Vasquez Cole. 2 kids, Mateo, 15, and Sophia, 12. I stared at the screen for a long time. He looked older, grayer, but his eyes were the same. And when I looked at Sophia's face, she had my chin, my cheekbones. We looked like sisters. I don't know how long I cried, but when I stopped, I wasn't sad anymore. I was angry, because my mother had told me he chose another family, but she never said he built another family. She made it sound like he traded us in, like we were defective. But this didn't look like a man who'd erased his past. It looked like a man who'd been removed from it. I booked a bus ticket for the next weekend. I told my mother I was staying at a friend's house. I lied. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. Fairhope is one of those towns that looks like a postcard. Oak trees draped in Spanish moss. A bay so blue it hurts to look at. I got off the bus at noon, and I walked 6 blocks to the address I'd found online. It was a small yellow house with a porch swing and flower pots on the steps. Happy, warm. Everything my childhood wasn't. I stood across the street for 20 minutes. What was I going to say? Hi, I'm the daughter you abandoned? Hi, I'm the ghost from your past? I almost left 3 times. But then I saw a woman step onto the porch. She was brunette, mid-40s, with kind eyes and a faded apron. She was watering the flowers, humming something soft. And before I could stop myself, I crossed the street. She looked up when my shadow fell over her. And the strangest thing happened. She didn't ask who I was. She didn't look confused. She looked at my face, really looked, and her hand went to her chest. Her eyes filled with tears. Oh, she whispered. Oh, honey. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. She set down the watering can. She walked toward me slowly, like I was a deer that might bolt. You're Mia, she said. Not a question. A statement. How do you know my name? She smiled, but it was a sad smile. The kind that's held too many secrets for too long. Because I've been waiting for you, she said. For 12 years. I've been waiting for you to come home. Her name was Elena. The same Elena from the letters. She didn't take me inside right away. She sat me down on the porch swing, brought me a glass of lemonade, and said 4 words that cracked my world in half. Your father didn't leave. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It was a nervous, broken laugh. Of course he left. My mom said. I know what your mom said. Elena interrupted gently. And I'm not going to tell you she's a bad person, but I am going to tell you she lied. She went inside and came back with a thick envelope, worn at the edges, stained with coffee rings and tears. He wrote you a letter every month for 6 years, she said. He sent them to your old address. Every single one came back, returned to sender. Not because you'd moved, because your mother refused them. I opened the envelope. The first letter was dated 2 months after he'd left. My dearest Mia, I'm so sorry I can't be there to tuck you in tonight. I'm so sorry I can't read you a story. I want you to know that none of this is your fault. Your mother and I, we couldn't make it work. But you're the best thing I ever did. And I will spend every day trying to get back to you. I read 6 letters on that porch, each one more desperate than the last. He'd called. He'd begged. He'd driven to our old house twice, only to have the police called on him for trespassing. By who? I asked, my voice shaking. Elena looked at me with those kind, tired eyes. By your mother, she said. She told the courts he was violent, abusive. She got a restraining order. He never even got to defend himself. I felt the porch tilt beneath me. My father tried to come back? Honey, Elena said softly. He never stopped. She took me inside the yellow house. And that's when I saw him. David Cole was sitting in an armchair by the window, a blanket over his legs, an oxygen tank beside him. He looked smaller than the man in the blurry photo. Thinner, paler. But his eyes, those eyes I'd inherited, lit up the second he saw me. Mia, he breathed. I couldn't move. They said you didn't want to see me, he said, tears sliding down his cheeks. The courts. The lawyers. They said you chose to stay with your mother. They said you hated me. I walked over to him, slowly, and I knelt beside his chair. I never hated you, I whispered. I didn't even know you. He broke down, right there, a grown man sobbing into his hands. And Elena, his wife, knelt beside me. She didn't look jealous. She didn't look threatened. She looked like a woman who'd spent 12 years holding a broken man together, waiting for a daughter who might never come. Your mother filed for divorce when you were 4, Elena explained quietly. Not because of an affair. Because she wanted full custody. She wanted to erase your father from your life. But why? Elena hesitated. Then she pulled out a second envelope. This one was sealed. Official. Court documents. Because of this, she said. I opened it. And my whole world flipped upside down. The document was a life insurance policy, taken out by my mother. On me. $500,000. Payable upon my death before the age of 18. I stared at it, then at her, then at my father. She never wanted me dead, I said slowly. That's insane. She loved me. Elena shook her head. She wanted the money, Mia. But the policy expired when you turn 18. And when it did, her whole story changed. What story? My father reached out and took my hand. His fingers were cold, shaking. The story that I abandoned you, he said. The story that I chose another family. The story she used to keep you from ever looking for me. And then he told me the truth I never saw coming. My mother wasn't just a woman scorned. She was a woman with a diagnosed personality disorder, borderline with narcissistic traits. She'd been hospitalized twice before I was born. My father stayed with her for years, trying to help her, trying to protect me. But when I was 4, she threatened to hurt herself and me if he didn't leave. He called the police. She told them he was the threat. And because she was a mother and he was a man, they believed her. I didn't abandon you, my father said, his voice cracking. I was forced out. Every time I tried to see you, she called the cops. Every time I sent a gift, she returned it. I hired 3 lawyers. I spent my retirement fund. And in the end, I lost. Because courts always favor the mother, Elena added quietly. Especially when the mother knows exactly what to say. I looked down at the letters. The life insurance policy. The court documents. But the policy, I said. That doesn't make sense. She never hurt me. My father squeezed my hand. No, he said. But she made sure you never left her. She isolated you. Controlled you. Made you feel guilty for wanting independence. That's not love, Mia. That's possession. And then came twist 2. Elena stood up, walked to a drawer, and pulled out a photograph. It was my mother's wedding photo, the same one from the locket. But in this version, my father wasn't cropped out. He was standing beside her, looking miserable. And on the other side of him, a woman I didn't recognize. That's my sister, Elena said softly. Her name was Isabel. I looked at her, then at the photo, then back at her. Your sister? Elena took a slow breath. Your mother didn't just lie about your father, she said. She lied about how we met. David didn't leave you for me. He met me after the divorce was final. But your mother couldn't accept that. So she created a story. A villain. And she made sure you believed it. But why? I whispered. Why go that far? Elena knelt in front of me, took both my hands. Because if you ever forgave him, she said, you might leave her. And she couldn't survive that. You weren't her daughter, Mia. You were her anchor. And anchors don't get to float away. I sat there, surrounded by truth, and I felt something I'd never felt before. Not anger. Grief. Grief for the father I'd lost. Grief for the mother I never really had. And grief for the girl I used to be, the one who believed she wasn't worth staying for. I stayed in Fairhope for 3 days. I slept in Sophia's room, ate dinner with Matteo, watched my father laugh for the first time. And every night, alone in the dark, I sobbed into my pillow. Not because I was sad, because I was here. And my whole life, I'd been told I couldn't be. On the third day, my father gave me something, a small leather journal. I wrote this for you, he said. Every birthday, every holiday, every time I missed you so much I couldn't breathe. I opened it. Pages and pages of letters. None of them mailed. All of them written. Mia, today you would have been 10. I bought you a bike. It's still in the garage. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away. Mia, you're 13 now. Elena says I should stop hoping, but I can't. A father never stops hoping. Mia, I'm sick. Really sick. And my biggest fear isn't dying. It's dying without you knowing the truth. I closed the journal, held it to my chest, and I called my mother. She answered on the first ring. Where are you? Her voice was sharp, panicked. I'm with Dad, I said. Silence. Then, you're lying. I'm not lying, Mom. I'm sitting in his living room. I've read his letters. I've seen the court documents. I know about the life insurance policy.
She didn't deny it.
She didn't apologize. She just said, you don't understand what he put me through. Then explain it, I said. Explain it to me right now. And she couldn't, because there was no explanation. Only control. Only fear. Only a woman who'd rather make me hate my father than face the truth about herself. I hung up, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. I stayed in Fairhope another week, then another. I enrolled in a community college nearby. I visit my father every day.
He's weak.
He's dying, but he's here. And my mother? She calls. Every night, sometimes crying, sometimes angry, sometimes pretending nothing happened. I answer sometimes, but I don't believe her anymore. Last week, Elena found another box in the attic. Letters from my mother, written before I was born, before my father ever left. They weren't love letters. They were warnings to herself. If he ever tries to leave, I'll make sure no one believes him. I'll keep her so close she'll never even think to look for him. I'll make myself the victim. I'm good at that. My mother didn't just lie. She planned the lie for years, before I could even walk. So here's the question I still can't answer. Did she ever really love me? Or was I always just the perfect weapon? I don't know if I'll ever find out. But here's what I do know. My father didn't choose another family. He was pushed out of mine. And the woman I trusted most in the world was the one holding the door closed. Comment below if you think I should call her back. And subscribe for part 2, because Elena's sister has a story too.
And trust me,
You won't believe it.